Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I read recently of the closing of the Book Castle. My older brother and I went there when we were young, and this set off a train of thought. The Book Castle on the Golden Mall, maybe that conjures the image of a magnificent palace, or maybe you already know this was a used bookstore in an old Woolworths building in Burbank, California. But it was magnificent. 21,000 square feet. It was an Aladdin's cave of used books. Common books and obscure books, rare books, things you were looking for, things you didn't know you needed until you saw them. And so dusty, I can still smell it. We didn't grow up in a book castle, but we grew up surrounded by books. We had a bookcase that was just jammed with books. There were books scattered throughout the house, seemingly in every room, including the hallway. I remember a full set of encyclopedia, the volumes of which never gathered together in the same place. When we were little, my brother, being a couple of years older than me, could do things I couldn't do. He could read before I could, of course, and my mother bought him a lot of books, things that were children's classics at the time, The Wind in the Willows, Peter Pan. Then he went to school and he found more books. And one day he brought home a book, Knight's Castle, which is a story of children in magic and Ivanhoe. And he liked this book so much he read it to me. And this was where I really began to love books. When I went to school, I was taught in the first grade to read by Sister Margarita. She also whacked me a few times with a ruler, but she taught me to read, hit me with a ruler. For teaching me to read, thank you, Sister Margarita. What my brother did, I wanted to do. What my brother was, I wanted to be. My brother loved monster movies, so of course I loved monster movies. When I was in third grade, I decided I want to read about monsters. So I read Dracula, I read Frankenstein, not realizing at first that I was reading literature. But this got me reading well above my grade level. So for that, thank you, Frankenstein. I never could read as well as my brother. He reads incredibly fast, and the retention of what he reads is remarkable. My brother was always taller, stronger than me. He was always surrounded by friends. He always attracts people to him. What my brother did, I wanted to do. What my brother was, I wanted to be. Later, when we were young adults, we moved together to California, and we shared an apartment, and it was in this time that we visited the Book Castle and other bookstores. This was a time and place where there were lots of interesting bookstores, and that was how I misspent my youth. I bought a lot of books at Book Castle. Most of them are gone now. If you move house or Marie Kondo gets to you, you get rid of a lot of stuff. I got rid of a lot of books. But I kept a handful of the books from the Book Castle all the time. These are souvenirs of the foreign country that is the past. But our memories are our souvenirs as well. One day my brother came to me and he said, I'm moving in with this girl. So I was on my own. I was out from under his shadow to some degree, I was still in his orbit, if you'll forgive the mixed metaphor. A couple years later, we ended up living together again, but the seeds for that ending were sown when he introduced me to a friend of his, and we later got married. My brother had a movie memorabilia store just off Hollywood Boulevard, and he met lots of people. He had lots of contacts. When he got married in 1998, my wife and I went to his wedding, and we went to a breakfast the next day at the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City. And it was remarkable how many times as we sat there at the table, someone would come up and, "Hey buddy, how are you? Hey." It was just, I was floored, and his wife said, "This happens every time we go out. He's something of a minor celebrity in Studio City." When my brother moved his store from California to Nevada, he also convinced his friend who worked for him that she should move also, and her parents and her grown children. He brought a whole community with him. His ex-girlfriend is one of his best friends still, because everyone that knows Buddy holds him in great affection. He's a man of great joie de vivre. He's sardonic and very generous. He's a man who is happy to sit in a room alone and read for hours, but more than anything, he loves to be around people. He loves people. If we had grown up in a castle, let's say in medieval Europe, as the second born, I would have had to leave, become a soldier, or join a religious order. And my brother, as the firstborn, would have inherited the castle, which is as it should be. If I was ever the annoying little brother, he never betrayed this in word or action. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.